Hello, I'm Logan, and I'm here with my fellow classmates Ray Salazar and Jackson Grimes. We are going to discuss our project on the chemistry of Yellowstone National Park's hydrothermal areas. Specifically, we look to see if the chemistry of the hydrothermal waters affect constructive or destructive processes. Yellowstone is an ideal location for this study due to its abundance of hydrothermal features, and we aim to catalog if the water chemistry is related to the process of construction or destruction, for example, terrace building or slumping. This work is important for things such as hazard assessment, preservation of unique natural features, and to further understand and characterize hydrothermal areas. Hydrothermal systems in Yellowstone National Park have been studied for decades by many types of scientists. Geomorphologists, such as ourselves, are interested in how landscapes evolve over time due to these unique hydrothermal features. In this study, we used watercolor as a proxy for the water chemistry. To provide further insight into the links between water chemistry and the preference of a hydrothermal feature to be dominated by constructive or destructive processes, we address specific questions such as what colors or chemistry is found in constructional and destructional hydrothermal areas, is there a relationship between them, and are hydrothermal features with the same topography found in the same areas. If water chemistry is linked to hydrothermal feature topography, then we expect to see similarities in watercolor in areas that are dominated by the same processes. And here in our two figures 1 and number 2, we have photos of Old Faithful and Grand Prismatic Hot Springs, two of the better known hydrothermal features that can be found in Yellowstone National Park.
So moving on to our methods here, we have both observational field work and analytical work. And for our observational field work, we're planning to visit as many of the hydrothermal areas as we can to directly observe what the dominating process is and link it to water chemistry. This semester, we were able to visit a few sites here and there, but we weren't able to really visit all the ones we wanted to just because of COVID and then time restrictions. But while we're at these sites, we're characterizing features we're categorizing features by constructional or destructional processes, which would be things like terrace building or like slumping. And basically at each feature, we're just taking notes and photographs of the dominating processes along with what color the water is. And then we're also going to be recording data points. We took data points on our Garmin InReach sat phones, and we can then upload these points to ArcGIS Pro and overlay them on topographic maps. And this is where we start to get into the more analytical side of things. So for analytical work, we're going to be using Google Earth and 10-meter DEM models, DEMs, yeah. We can basically, this helps us analyze hazardous areas without any personal risk. And what we're going to do is use Google Earth to draw linear transects across hydrothermal features and hydrothermal basins, and this will give us elevation profiles of these features. And the satellite imagery provided by Google Earth will also tell us the water color and therefore chemistry. Then using DEMs, we can observe more of a 3D topographic profile of hydrothermal basins rather than just like a 2D transect that Google Earth will give us. And so here in figure 3, we have a Google Earth screenshot of Mammoth Hot Springs. And this is showing basically where we took our transect. And Mammoth Hot Springs is going to be one of those hydrothermal areas associated with terraces and building, so constructional events. I also have, for figure 4, a screenshot of a hydrothermal area that's just west of Old Faithful. And this image shows the transect of an elevation profile that showed more of a slumping nature. So down in the results and discussion, we have basically figures 5 and 6 are the elevation profiles that go along with figures 3 and 4 respectively. And from what we found out is from the current population of hydrothermal features studied in Yellowstone, we haven't found any strong links, any strong correlations between hydrothermal water chemistry and constructional or destructional processes. However, some of the areas we looked at can be classified as constructional or destructional, which is what we're seeing with like Mammoth Hot Springs and that area that's west of Old Faithful. And in both those areas, we were able to link water color to those dominating processes. And some of the more broad overall things we found for Yellowstone were that there are a range of hydrothermal water chemistries observable within Yellowstone National Park. There are both destructional and constructional dominated hydrothermal features found in Yellowstone. We were able to use water color as a proxy for water chemistry, and through our research methods, we really weren't able to make any direct correlation.
So in conclusion, we really couldn't find a strong correlation between the destructional or constructional processes and the watercolor. There is a potential that using the watercolor as a proxy did not give us all we needed to know about the chemistry of the water, and something deeper in the chemistry could be dominating the processes that are active at a spot. But the main takeaway of this is that more work is required to understand the correlation. And this project is pretty important. As you see in Figure 7, hydrothermal areas, if they slump, can destroy roads, which obviously is very costly. It causes traffic delays, just costs time and resources, and nobody wants that. So a little bit of research money could go a long way. And then, so for future work, the most important thing to do is going to be looking at the water chemistry and classifying it better than just by color. You could look at things like pH, what minerals are dissolved in there, even temperature, just to name a few. Another point of future work could be to increase the accuracy of the topography. For our work, we used Google Earth, which was 10 meter pixels. If you used either terrestrial LiDAR or aerial LiDAR on drones or a helicopter, you could get that accuracy down to 2 centimeters, which would be really cool. The only problem there is getting a drone permit to fly within a national park is super difficult. It's almost easier to get a helicopter permit. So we'd probably just use terrestrial LiDAR there. And final point of future work that could be done is using this same study method in different hydrothermal areas and just comparing the results to Yellowstone to see how the surrounding landscape compares and if the hydrothermal geomorphology is the same in Yellowstone as it is in other places.